Hi there, I'm Snis. I first started playing DRG in 2018, and in that time I've become part of the top 1% of graybeards in this game. During my time in the rig and down in the caves, I've seen countless dwarves come and go, whether that be quitting or through other means. Like any workplace, it can take new recruits, also referred to as greenbeards, a while to get a hang of the job. Some common obstacles include getting stuck in caves, struggling to complete objectives, running out of ammo, drinking too much at the Abyss Bar, and feeling directionless in the space rig. You know, now that I say that out loud, I think those last two are probably connected. In this video, I'll go through some shorter term goals that new players will want to go through early on, as well as some long term ones that come with playing the game for a while. Grab a brew and strap into your seats because we're diving into a beginner's guide to Deep Rock Galactic. Once you complete the tutorial, you're kind of just thrown into the space rig like a baby discovering the world for the first time. This player hub is not massive by any means, but it can be pretty confusing considering the amount of stuff to interact with. So instead of going through every single thing in the rig, let's just talk about the important stuff right now. Firstly is the class selection. This is located on a desk in each of the dwarven dorms. Feel free to choose whatever class you want to play and experiment with them all. In DRG, these classes aren't defined by only their weapons. Support tools give each of them a playstyle of their own too. These combine to help benefit the entire team, making the co-op experience a lot of back and forth between different classes' abilities. With a class selected, the next terminals up are assignment board and mission board, which are right here on the rig. Assignments and missions are easily mistaken for each other in DRG, mostly because those words are synonymous. In-game, they are not the same thing at all, which is pretty confusing. Missions are what you load into when playing the game. Single instance objectives selected on the map, you know, the stuff you do in the caves. These pay out in credits, crafting resources, experience, and performance points. Assignments are sets of missions that usually unlock more significant content, like biomes, mission types, weapons, cosmetics, pickaxe parts, and more. In its most simple form, assignments are kind of like quests, and missions are objectives in that quest. To complete an assignment, you have to do the missions for that assignment. If you're brand new to the game, you'll already have an assignment selected called Conquer Hoxies. If you've already completed that, feel free to choose any that are available at the board. With that ready, let's take a look at the mission board. Here is a big old map of the planet you'll be mining on, and all of the wonderful and totally not deadly biomes it has to offer. That being said, if you're brand new to the game, most of the biomes are locked until you make progression and conquer Hoxies, so they'll kind of ease you in. On the mission board map, there's going to be a blinking white diamond somewhere. That would be your assignment's mission. Other players' assignment missions will also show up here, but theirs aren't blinky and cool like yours. So remember, yours is the blinky cool one. Select your mission from the mission board and you'll be prompted to choose a lobby type or quick join. For the first few missions, I would recommend hosting instead of joining via quick play, just to get the full experience of a mission from start to finish. So click on public, private, or solo. Public will open up your lobby to the server list, allowing random online players to join. Private lets you host for your friends, and solo is a single player mode where you're teamed up with a robot named Bosco. My Bosco's made of barrels. I also suggest playing with people early on, so either invite your friends to a private lobby or open it up to public. This game was designed around co-op, and players typically pick up a lot more while playing alongside others. DRG's community is more welcoming than most, and while that isn't a hard thing to achieve in an online game, it's one of the best I've experienced. Next, you'll want to select a hazard for that mission, which is essentially just a difficulty setting with a funny name. The higher the hazard, the better the payout, but the harder it is. For new players, I'd recommend Hazard 2 as a good starting point, and adjust from there to see what works best for you. Do not feel pressured to go to the highest hazard. Without having any weapon upgrades, you're already at a significant disadvantage for higher hazards. Even as someone with a lot of experience, I struggle a lot on higher hazards with stock weapons. Hit the big confirm mission button and head up to the drop pod once you're ready. Don't be afraid to slap the dice on your way, a little luck never hurt nobody. Since we're heading on down to the planet, it's probably a good time to run through some gameplay tips. My first tip is to mine nitra. This is a shiny red mineral that typically resides on walls. It can be a bit tougher to spot in salt pits, which also happens to be the first biome you're given, so keep that in mind. Nitra is exclusively used to call resupplies, which refill ammo during a mission. These can be called by either pressing 5 on the keyboard or pressing down on the D-pad until it switches to a resupply. One supply costs 80 nitra and it is necessary for surviving. Do not pass up on nitra unless you've got a ton saved up. Oh, and make sure you deposit it. You can only order a resupply once there's 80 nitra in the team depository. Speaking of which, remember to deposit minerals when you're getting full. After you mine stuff, it's in your personal inventory. For it to count towards anything, you need to deposit it in the mule, which is a robot widely known by the nickname Molly.
Get this home safely, will you, Molly?
Press C on the keyboard, Y on Xbox, or triangle on PlayStation to call Molly to your current location, and she will very slowly trot her way over. You won't have to do much depositing if you don't mind crafting resources though, so make sure you're doing that. Each biome has crafting resources that come in all sorts of shapes and sizes. Some collect in your inventory at the bottom of the screen, others are too large for your little dwarf pockets. These have to be deposited by carrying them to Molly and just dropping them in. Honestly, some of them, I don't even know how they fit in there. Crafting materials are required for upgrading weapons and equipment, which I'll go into later in the video. Compact dirt always leads to a cave. The tutorial does teach this, but it still confuses players regardless, and I don't really blame them, it's kind of weird. If you're struggling to find a cave on the other side of the dirt, pull out the terrain scanner by holding down tab on the keyboard or the view button on a controller to see the other side of the dirt, and that should make digging through a lot easier. Speaking of the terrain scanner, it should not go underutilized, and if there's ever a point where you don't know what the hell you're supposed to be doing, it'll help guide you. It displays your current location, your teammates' locations, explored sections of the cave, mission objectives like eggs, dreadnought cocoons, mini mule legs, and even the drop pod during extraction. If you're ever confused where to go, you can most likely solve it by just pulling this out. Another important tool is the laser pointer or the ping tool. Hold down control on the keyboard or left bumper on controller to bring this out. The primary function is to notify your team of anything you could point to in a cave. If it's important, you can ping it. If it's not important, you can also still ping it.
Mushroom, shot it. Get back to work.
Outside of that use case, it's also used for spotting minerals and enemies in dark caves. You can just point the laser in any direction in a dark room and wait for the screen to light up green or red depending on what it detects. This is really nice when visibility's low, because you can just run the laser pointer around the room and see if there's anything going on. If you're unable to play the game online or with friends, the laser pointer is also your way of telling the little robot Bosco what to do for you in a cave. You can tell him to mine minerals, grab heavy objects, repair pipes, defend a robot, and fight bugs. He's extremely useful, so make good use of this guy. The final use for the ping tool is extra HUD and UI information. When you tap or hold the ping button, you'll see your team depository, ammo status, and more stuff will pop onto the screen. It also allows you to see other teammates and resupplies through walls. Just hold down the ping tool and you can see them outlined with like a white outline around them. It's extremely handy when you're getting lost while exploring, as you can move and hold the ping tool out unlike the terrain scanner. Oh, and I almost forgot about the waypoint marker. While the laser pointer is out, press E or hold down the right trigger to place a waypoint. This will show up every time you tap the laser pointer button, as well as on the terrain scanner as a little blue spinning cube. I mostly use this while I'm playing Driller to help me dig to a secondary objective like fossils. With tools out of the way, let's talk about combat a bit. Nearly all of the creatures you encounter on Hoxies have a weak point you can aim for. Whether it's their chompers or some glowy bit on them, you definitely want to aim for these as much as possible, as it can save a lot of ammo in the long haul. Once you've taken down any enemy type, it'll be stored in the Miner's Manual Bestiary in the pause menu. It's kind of like a messed up Pokédex. This will explain the weaknesses of each of the enemies you've encountered if you're unsure how to tackle a fight. Attacking bugs is pretty easy to get a hang of. It's the whole them attacking you part that makes things a little more difficult. Generally, moving as much as you can is really effective in DRG. Backstepping, sprinting, and jumping away from enemies is very important for avoiding damage, especially on higher hazards. It's also worthwhile to have a bit of what I'd call a dickhead hierarchy. There are some enemies that just need to be prioritized before anything else. For me personally, that's bulk detonators, menaces, acid spitters, wardens, cave leeches, grabbers. If you have the choice to take down a swarmer or an acid spitter, you want to get rid of the acid spitter first. So far I've given tips on how to improve your experience, but it's important to consider how your teammates are doing too. Stick together if you can. This seems obvious in a co-op game, but for some players it's really easy to just go off doing your own thing. This can lead to a bunch of problems, like you can get grabbed by a leech or downed, and now your team has to go make the world's longest journey to revive. So just stay together, especially during tense moments like swarms. If there are 4 players on a team, make sure you only take 1 resupply, and if you need a second one, ask before taking it or call another supply. Taking 2 from 1 supply is double dipping. It's pretty rude to grab 2 of them, potentially leaving someone without ammo. When all the objectives are complete, do not press the button to end the mission until everyone is ready, especially if you aren't hosting. Lastly, always rock and stone back. Press V on the keyboard or click in the analog stick to rock and stone. If you don't, you're gonna get called a leaf lover, and I promise you do not want to be a leaf lover. Those are all the broad gameplay tips I could really think of that pretty much apply to every mission you do. If you're still confused about something, remember you can always open the Miner's Manual on the pause menu. It has a lot of information to help out new players. One of the best features being a step-by-step list on how to do each mission type. Now that you know how to get through a mission, let's go over some short-term goals. First and foremost, finish the Conquer Hoxie's assignment. This is required to get access to a lot of the content in the game, and after that, just keep doing assignments. Unlock new weapons, higher difficulties, or cosmetics. Just choose whatever you want to do. Also, if you're playing with a friend, try to do assignments together, as it'll give both of you progress as long as you're at the same point in the assignment. As you play the game more, you'll start to build up on crafting resources and credits. These can be spent in a few ways, but I recommend focusing on weapon and equipment upgrades. To do this, head over to the equipment terminal on the space rig. Then select what class and item you want to upgrade. You'll be greeted with a bunch of different choices on the right side of your screen. Some of these are locked behind increasing your class level. The more you level up, the more upgrades you get. Each row of upgrades is called a tier, and you can only have 1 upgrade per tier equipped. However, you're not locked to that choice forever. You can change it whenever you want, as long as you've purchased the upgrade previously. Experimenting is key. Choose some upgrades, test them out in a mission, and tweak from there. Don't ignore equipment upgrades, especially support tool ones. They can improve your survivability way more than you'd expect, so make sure you check those out. From there, I don't really think I'm the best resource for weapon builds. Carl.gg is a fantastic website that I recommend for not only exploring what others have made, but also testing out builds before you buy the upgrades. There's also tons of videos covering weapon builds, with some of the best being from Servend. I'll have a link to their channel in the description. Don't forget that you can upgrade your little robot buddy Bosco at the terminal to the right of the equipment one. If you're like me and enjoy a little bit of solo, I can't recommend this enough. Besides weapon upgrades, I'd say unlocking new perks is pretty important. These are swappable upgrades that can make passive changes to your dwarves or even give new abilities like instant revives or taming a bug and naming it Steve. I know that sounds ridiculous, but like I'm serious, you can really tame a bug and name it Steve. To unlock perks, you're going to want to head to the big LG OLED TV in the Dwarven dorms. On the milestones page, make sure you claim your perk points. Then switch to the perks tab, and here you can unlock with your perk points. Each set has a requirement to unlock the next. This is determined by the arrows to the right of the set. For example, here you need 3 perks from this set to unlock the next one. Prioritize getting the extra perk slots in the tree, as having more slots is always handy. Once you've unlocked some perks, go to the equipment terminal and select them on the screen by clicking the little buttons next to your dwarf. If you want a more in-depth look at perks and what's best to unlock first, Milligan has an amazing set of videos on this, and I'll have that available in the description too. And hey, get yourself a few cosmetics at the accessory shop. No one wants to look like a greenbeard forever. If you happen to stumble on some phasianite in a cave, you can use that to purchase cosmetics in the shop, and that leaves your crafting minerals and credits all for upgrades. That's pretty much all the short-term stuff I wanted to cover. Next up are some long-term goals that you'll be working towards as you progress through the game. Promoting your dwarves is the first of the longer-term goals to reach. To promote a dwarf, you have to get them to level 25, which is the red number displayed underneath the class. This unlocks a ton of new content. Machine events, overclocks, the forge, and deep dives. Now, you don't have to worry about all this right now. It'll make more sense when you play the game more, and it's pretty far away, so I wouldn't be digging too deep into it here. If you're looking for some help on this, I have a video about deep dives that also covers most of the stuff surrounding endgame, so check that out if it applies to you. It may seem like a good idea to grind out one class and promote them first, but I personally think you should just play the game in the way that's most fun for you. I've watched what feels like a dozen people play exclusively one dwarf and then fall out of playing the game pretty quickly because they just stuck to one class the whole time. Do whatever sounds the most fun. It doesn't have to be the most efficient way to do it or whatever. That doesn't matter. Just play the game and have fun. Another thing to do while playing is completing the Season Pass. DRG's Season Passes are all completely free, so you have access to it right away and you don't need to pay for anything. You can check out your Season Pass progress in the Season Terminal sitting right next to the drop pod. If you have any questions, throw them in the comments and either I'll reply or I'm sure someone else will too. If you're a more experienced player in DRG, feel free to leave some tips for the Greenbeards down there if you have any. If you like my videos and want to see more of them get made, consider supporting me on Patreon. Oh, and it only costs $2. Also, go follow me on Twitter at @snis_. I'll announce when videos are coming out, I announce when I'm streaming, and I post funny things occasionally. I hope this video helps your experience, and enjoy your time playing DRG. Thank you for watching my video. Rock and Stone.